And on behalf of all of us at CNAS, I particularly want to thank you for attending this event to mark the release of what I think is one of our most timely and interesting pieces of work to date. The report is called Crime Wars, Gangs, Cartels, and U.S. National Security, and it's written by Bob Killebrew, a retired Army officer, special operator, and an extraordinary strategic thinker. Crime Wars calls on the U.S. government to rethink how it conducts its so-called war on drugs and to build a more integrated strategy against organized criminal groups. This struggle is not just about the border, it's not just about Mexico, and it's certainly not just about drugs. We face a complex problem, which means it's important to understand its many facets and how to link together seemingly disparate elements of our government in order to address it.
This situation is a strategic threat to the United States and indeed to a number of countries in the Western Hemisphere. It is not just about Mexico. It is not just about drugs, but that drugs are central to this, especially the nexus between political groups, especially the FARC, and drugs. It's an interesting problem for Washington. Our job is to think about how we can do a better job, especially in helping Colombia help others.
What explains this tremendous problem for a region that in many respects is going in the right direction? There are fundamental problems of governance, weak institutions. Colombia in 1998, 1999 lacked state presence in much of the country. That problem has been corrected. Mexico has state presence, but weak state presence, and also in many cases involved in relations with criminal groups. This is a problem in the United States and certainly affects the United States, and I think the report does a terrific job of connecting it to the United States and makes us think about those links. But it's an urgent problem, not just an important problem in Latin America and the Caribbean. It's the number one problem.
But I would like to make the argument that although there is great need for multilateral cooperation and for multilateral exploration of the nature of the problem and of policy effectiveness, and that indeed there are some important lessons that carry across spaces, across countries, it is ultimately very important to remember that both illicit economies and crime and policies to mitigate them are deeply socially embedded.
President Obama himself, 3 months into his administration, at the Summit of the Americas in Trinidad, who began to reframe this debate a little bit and to reframe the discussion on security cooperation in this region, recognizing that we needed a broader approach, that we needed to be talking about the links among security, prosperity, justice, government institutions, good governance. And the final thing I would say that I think is critical and a major part of our strategy now is the very, very critical importance of communities, of civil society, of non-governmental actors who are vibrant, who are interacting with the government. The best policies and the most successful policies on security are those that have civil society as partners, because security forces cannot do this alone.
The world in which we live, we understand that insurgencies are multidimensional problems that have to be addressed by a wide variety of means, whereas drug wars or whatever the current thing was is too often relegated simply to the DEA and the police. This is indeed an insurgency. It is being fought successfully so far in Colombia, and Colombia is fighting it on all levels, both with security forces, military and police, and with economic and social justice means. In a criminal insurgency, as opposed to an ideological one, there's no ideological reason for people to support an insurgent. The Marxist insurgencies or the religious insurgencies that many in my profession are accustomed to fighting don't exist in criminal gangs. And one of the things that turned the corner for the FARC in Colombia was when the FARC became a cocaine-producing drug ring and lost their Marxist attraction. This is not just about Mexico, as several of my fellow confreres have said. This is about an overseas strategy probably led by someone else and supported by the United States. It's a political reality that at this point in our history, the United States is not going to take the lead in any more wars. We need to reform our immigration policies. Every police chief I talked to said to me, "You're building a permanently embittered, alienated, generally law-abiding minority in the United States in which these people shelter because illegal immigrants and some legal immigrants are afraid to cooperate with the police." We all may have different ideas about immigration reform based on politics, but I tell you, as a matter of national security, we have to find a way to make the immigrant population willing to cooperate with police that does not for them have drastic consequences. With the right overseas and the right domestic strategies, we can beat these guys. They're only crooks. They're not all that smart. They're cunning and they're cruel. They don't plan. They don't trust each other. Colombia has shown us that they can be beaten. What we have to do is find the right strategies domestically and internationally to do it.